So instead of doing a make it right show or a video on the Not Another Vape team that was on last night, it was called. It was called Not Another Vape Show 150. Where is everyone? It was streamed on June 17, 2018. And it's on the channel Vape and Fagan. So I decided instead of doing a make it right, I decided to make sure I'm sharing this properly. Okay. So I decided to do it this way. They were talking about various subject matters when it came to the FDA, CTP, Center for Tobacco Products and the Food and Drug Administration. And they talked about various issues. They made a big issue out of the youth and why they make such a big issue out of the youth. And I just want to say, as I've said many a time, if you have a problem with that, you need to go to Congress. You can't blame the FDA for that or the CTP. In the Tobacco Control Act, the official title is Family Smoking Prevention and Tobacco Control Act of 2009. The very first word is family. It's all about the youth. In fact, the preamble or the introduction to the entire Tobacco Control Act, all they do is talk about the youth. All they do is talk about the youth. So if you have anyone to blame, go to Congress, change the contents of the introduction to the Tobacco Control Act, as well as that one word, family. Maybe just call it Tobacco Control Act. But that's not what was really concerned me. What concerned me was they were talking about the flavor ban and the vaping. What was it with the Golt vapor? I don't know, vaping with the Golt or Mr. Golt or Sir Golt or whatever his name is. Doesn't matter. I used to subscribe to him, but he started to bore the heck out of me, so I unsubscribed from him. And I think Mike Vape sort of chimed in, not as much as Brian had, Vapor Chronicles had chimed in. And they were talking about e-liquids and the flavor ban. And that tobacco itself is a flavor. Yes, that is true. It is a flavor. But there is actually naturally extracted tobaccos that go through an entire process to wind up in e-liquids. And when they were talking about it, and I remember even on my live show, I had one of my calls talk about it a few times, and I've always let them slide on it. But when it appeared on the Not Another Vape show, which affects many people on YouTube, so I want to just sort of straighten this out so you get a better understanding. Because every time this topic comes up, I think to myself, the first thing that pops up into my mind is Black Note. And so I'm not sure how the process works with these naturally extracted tobacco. Okay, it's not a artificial flavor. It's not a flavor that is created in a lab. These are naturally extracted flavor. The flavor, it's a flavor, of course. Anything is a flavor. I mean, even if you chew your washcloth, you're going to get a flavor, not a very good flavor, but you're going to get a flavor from the washcloth. You're going to get, if you put a bar of soap in your mouth, you may not like it, but there is actually a flavor to a bar of soap. So everything has a flavor, okay? But anyway, the point is certain e-liquids that are out there are made with naturally extracted tobacco. So let's say if the FDA, CTP decide, the Food and Drug Administration, the Center for Tobacco Products, in regards to the flavor ban, they say, look, there's going to be across-the-board flavor ban, menthol as well. Of course, the secretary will have to rule on that to eliminate that from the picture, but he certainly has the power to do so according to the Tobacco Control Act, as well as all the other characterizing flavors. which are anywhere from fruits and candies and creams and bakeries and desserts and all the things we love, as well as artificial tobacco flavors. Now, there are such a thing as, in fact, majority of the e-liquids that are out there have artificial or lab-made tobacco flavors. But there are few companies that have a naturally extracted tobacco that is actually extracted from the tobacco leaf itself, and I will show you how that process is on the next page. And it has nothing to do with artificial, it's not nothing with sweeteners, nothing. It's strictly from the tobacco leaf. So, as I was saying, maybe the FDA CTP will say, look, we're going to have across-the-board flavor ban. No menthol, no other flavors except tobacco. And there are those that, like on the Not Another Vape show, my co-host and many others out there, that are thinking, well, yeah, well, tobacco is a flavor. Not necessarily. In other words, in fact, let's say if the FDA decides to have an across-the-board flavor ban, the only companies that will wind up staying in business is someone like this, Black Note, or companies that are like this. They will be able to stay in business because their e-liquids is actual tobacco leaf. It comes from the actual tobacco itself. It's actually made directly from tobacco, directly. And I'll show you the process in a moment. So I just pulled up the one of their flavors called Sonata. Goes for $23. I mean, they're a little expensive, these things, up for a 30 mil. And they have the, I don't know how to pronounce that, but it's Cavendish, I guess, tobacco. It's robust and intense. And like it says, let me make that a little bit bigger for you. So read it. So it says, dark ripe Virginia tobacco is treated to a centuries-old curing process, producing a robustly rich and intense blend. Virginia tobacco leaves, it's key, are precisely primed, oak barrel cured, and steamed to brilliant intensity. They're actual leaves, okay, that they use, okay? So it says naturally extracted from single tobacco, how do you say it? Cultivar? I don't know. Using only the best leaves and the best part of the leaves. So therefore you have no diacetyl, acetyl, propanol, ethylene glycol, diethylene glycol, acetylene, acetine, whatever. And they actually give you their lab results. So you can actually read about how they actually, all these chemicals that are not there in this particular e-liquid. There's no artificial flavors, meaning that there is no quote-unquote tobacco artificial flavor in there, like the majority of the e-liquids out there. This is not an advertisement. I have never bought anything from Black Note. No, years ago, Indoor Smokers did a review of their e-liquid. Anyway, it says no artificial flavors, colors, sweeteners, or chemical additives. Could be compared to the finest wine in the world of tobacco vaping liquids. And does not degrade replaceable coils as quickly as most synthetic vaping liquid. Now, there are tobacco flavors out there that are synthetically made. Okay, but this is, like it says, naturally extracted. Now, so what does that mean, naturally extracted? Let's go over to this place that also sells this type of stuff, okay, this kind of naturally extracted e-liquids. And this is how it's made. So it says, if you've been vaping for a while, even if you've just quit smoking and taken it up, you will probably have come across the term naturally extracted tobacco, or the abbreviated versions of NET or NET or NET. Red Vape is one of the primary users of these terms, as we are one of a handful of e-liquid manufacturers using naturally extracted tobaccos in our products. Because of this, we thought it was high time we explained precisely what NETs are and why we use them in our tobacco e-liquid. See, these leaves themselves are actually, well, let me just read on and you'll see. These leaves are actually used. These are actually used. It's like anything, like apples. You want to get apple juice? You mush the apples down, extract the juice from the apples. Pears, pineapples, cherry, whatever it can be. You understand? Anyway, it's all relative. So it says, what is naturally extracted tobacco? Naturally extracted tobacco refers to the process by which the tobacco flavor or essence is removed or extracted from the tobacco leaf. There are various ways of achieving this, but at Red Vape, we use a process called proprietary cold maceration, as it is the best known method of extracting the true essence of the tobacco flavor. A similar process is used in the production of certain types of wine, such as Burgundy, as winemakers believe it produces a more vibrant and fuller flavor. The tobacco leaves are essentially cold soaked at low temperatures for periods of several weeks to several months. The result is an extremely flavorful extract that has very little nicotine, which is why we add this at a later point in the e-liquid production process. So what they do is they take these leaves here, all this stuff's grown in the ground, actual tobacco, and they cold soak them at low temperatures for either several weeks to several months. See, whereas, you know, if you're using a synthetic or lab-produced tobacco flavor, they probably put that together probably in a day, and voila, it's made. But no, this takes weeks and months of being soaked in cold. It's soaked in water or whatever the hell you use at low temperatures for periods of weeks and months. And this is what we may very well come up with. If he does across-the-board flavor ban, these are not synthetic flavors. These are not flavors that are made in a lab. Understand? Hopefully you understand. These are actual leaves themselves, just like they make wine out of, certain types of berries and all that kind of stuff, and grapes mainly. Same thing, same compression. They use a compression state, and they extract the juice or the wine out of those grapes. It's all the same. It says the extracted flavors are very close to the botanical tobacco leaf taste, and so we have to be very careful in selecting mature leaves from our chosen tobacco varieties so we achieve the perfect authentic taste. So they take these mature leaves, and then they have different types of grades of tobacco, just like in pipe smoking or roll your own tobacco. Things of even premium cigars. They use different grades of tobaccos to get certain types of flavors out of those tobacco leaves. It's not just that one leaf is all the same. No, it depends on how they grow them. And then alternative methods for tobacco flavoring. Selecting the right leaves from the best tobacco varieties and then taking them through the cold maturation process is a time-consuming and expensive method of producing tobacco liquids. There are, of course, alternatives that allow manufacturers to create tobacco e-liquids far more quickly and more cheaply. Another option for producing a naturally extracted tobacco is with the introduction of heat. This method uses tobacco leaves, but importantly adds heat to quicken the extraction process significantly. The upside of this method is the speed at which the extracted flavors are produced, which also helps reduce costs. The downside is that the delicate tobacco flavor can become tainted by the introduction of heat, creating an unpleasant bitterness when vaping. Many e-liquids use synthetic tobacco flavorings produced in a laboratory. This is no different to how many flavors are created in the food and drink we consume on a daily basis. This type of flavor has its place in the market, but they fail to capture the true essence of tobacco and the many available varieties. And see, and they actually take these actual tobacco leaves and they compress them. And then you have types of tobacco. See? Well, I don't have to read all that. But these are different types. Like over here, they're using a Virginia tobacco leaves on black note. And here they have, it's called bright leaf Virginia tobacco. And it's different. Every one's much different than the other ones. So, you know, I don't want to make this video too long. I hope you get the point. The point is that, let's say the FDA decides to have a flavor ban across the board. And then you say, well, yeah, well, if that's the case, then we won't even be able to have tobacco because it's an artificial flavor. No. And I've been thinking this all this time, but I never wanted to do a video on it because I don't know. I figure maybe to find out in the long run. But when they did Not Another Vape Show, and they went on and on for some time, they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about when it comes to this particular issue. So yes, if the FDA wants to have a across the board flavor ban, we will have tobacco flavors out there that are tobacco themselves. That's it, period. And I'm going to probably like 99.4% of the chance until they start to regulate the entire market. As long as we remain quiet like a niche, they'll probably leave us alone. Eventually, there are regulators to death as well. But as far as the do-it-yourself, just do it yourself. You get your flavors that way. But if they decide to have across-the-board flavor ban, then you have these naturally extracted tobacco e-liquids that you could always turn to. So there is such a thing that they can very well have across-the-board flavor ban, and we'll still have e-liquids. And, you know, the argument is, and I certainly can understand what the FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb is saying. You read a lot of his stuff, his material that he puts. Let me take a vape real quick before I say this, and I'll end the video. What he's trying to do with combusted cigarettes is he's trying to bring those limits of nicotine down as close as he can to zero. According to the Tobacco Control Act, we should all know by now that he can't make it zero milligrams of nicotine. But he can bring it very close. On the flip side, if he leaves an alternative on the market outside of big pharma, all their patches and gums and all that other crap, then you have the heat not burn technology as well, and then you have e-liquids, or you have vapor products on the market. And he's saying to himself, I know he's thinking this, and you could see it in a lot of his writings if you really read his stuff, especially as well as Mitch Zeller, or just the Center for Tobacco Products and the FDA in general, let's say, even. And that is, do we vape because of the flavors, and that's it, all these flavors, dessert flavors, fruit flavors, whatever? Or are we using these vaping devices as an alternative strictly because we don't want to smoke cigarettes and things of that nature, so we die and have cancers? And if you really read where he's come from, there's a good probability, it'll be a while from now, of course, but there's a good probability, and they're able to do this legally, that is the FDA, to have across-the-board flavor ban and leave tobacco, like the naturally extracted tobacco e-liquids, on the market only. And, the FDA is saying to themselves, well, they have the alternative. The naturally extracted tobacco is not going to, it'd be just like any other vaping e-liquid in a way that doesn't give you cancers and things of that nature, of course, is what my point is. And if they want to really have that as an alternative, well, then they get stuck with the naturally extracted tobacco e-liquids and leave it at that. In other words, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Literally. You can't have it. You can't, you know. I mean, he might not have across the board flavor ban. Now, these artificial tobacco flavors will be also off the market as well. But these naturally extracted tobacco flavors, or naturally extracted tobacco flavored e-liquid, or naturally extracted tobacco e-liquids, will remain on the market because they cannot, the FDA can't regulate against that, because according to the Tobacco Control Act, like for instance with the combusted cigarettes, they must always remain on the market forever, perpetually, forever. That was the deal. I don't want to get into the history of it. Anyone knows my channel, they've seen the videos, they understand it hopefully. So it's be always on the market. So these tobacco leaves are always will be there for people to consume, or not consume, but to vape on or to smoke or whatever have you. And so the FDA says, well, at least you have your alternative, but you have to vape on only naturally extracted tobacco. And so be it. I mean, that's the flip side. I mean, that's, in other words, you have a healthier alternative in regards to vaping. You just have to do the naturally extracted tobacco e-liquids. That's it. And like I said, if you don't like that, then go do it yourself and leave it at that. So this can be done, and companies like redvape.com, blacknote.com, and a few others, several others actually. I don't know how many, but not as many as the other flavored synthetic e-liquids. But these will remain in business forever. Yes, absolutely. Now, of course, they still have to have a manufacturer finished product date on their products. The ones that, especially the ones before August 8, 2016. But they are good. They will, in other words, they will survive across the board flavor ban. These particular companies will survive at least up until August 8th of 2022, unless that date is moved closer to August 8th, 2018, or it's extended out even farther out. So, I might buy one of these just to see how it is, and I'll do a review of it. Looks interesting. I mean, a lighter, milder tobacco grown, the Virginia tobacco. There's many different strains. These are the ones they use, but there are many other ones. So yes, absolutely, not another vape show. The Vaping Goat, or whatever his name is, Brian, all these characters, they were on this particular issue completely, utterly wrong. Same with, I'm not going to name them. I don't want to put them on the spot, but even one of my co-hosts that went on and on about this for several times in the past, he is also wrong when it comes to this situation here. So yes, absolutely, we can have tobacco e-liquids on the market if they have an across-the-board flavor ban. Might not like it, but legally and functionally, absolutely, we can still wind up with tobacco e-liquids on the market. And on that point, you guys have a good one.